Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive. This is where you give us your sources, articles, notes, whatever you've got, and we dig into them to find the really key stuff, the useful insights, basically help you get up to speed fast. So today, we're looking at something I think a lot of us can relate to, virtual wine tasting with friends. It's this way people are connecting now, especially when friends are all over the place or schedules are just crazy. This source even talks about it being a big thing for 2025, skipping the whole hassle of trying to meet up somewhere.
That's right. And the material you sent over, it's really like um, a practical guide, almost a playbook for how to actually do these virtual tastings. Our job today really is to pull out the useful tips, yeah, but also the fun ideas and maybe dig into why this simple thing has become, a real tradition for some folks. We'll look at how it works, how to make it actually social and not awkward, and how people keep it going.
And looking through it, there were definitely bits that made me chuckle.
Hmm.
Or just things that seem so simple, but probably make a huge difference. Like the fact you really don't need to be a wine snob at all. What kind of grabbed you first?
What really struck me is how much it lowers the barrier to entry. Traditional wine tasting can feel a bit
Yeah.
stuffy, right? Like you need the right words or this amazing palate.
Totally. Intimidating.
Yeah. But this approach, at least from the source, it feels like it's built around just making it easy to connect. The wine is almost like the excuse, the vehicle for getting together.
That makes a ton of sense. It's about the people, not necessarily the Pinot. Okay, so let's get practical. If you've never done this, what's the bare bones version according to this guide?
The basic idea is super simple. Everyone gets the same wines, or, at least the same type of wine, like everyone gets a Sauvignon Blanc. Then you all jump on a video call together and taste them. The guide really stresses keeping it low-key. No expertise needed, no need for super expensive bottles. Just open something and chat.
And it sounds really flexible too, right? The guide mentions that.
Hmm.
Some groups might get into the whole formal tasting note thing, swirling and sniffing,
Hmm.
while others are pretty much just hanging out, catching up. And oh yeah, they happen to have wine. Both are fine.
Absolutely. It adapts to the group's vibe. Now, for actually getting it set up, the guide has some solid tips. First, they say stick to maybe 2 or 3 wines, max. That's to avoid palate fatigue.
Ah, right. Palate fatigue where everything starts tasting kind of the same after a while.
Yeah.
Your taste buds just check out.
Exactly that. Yeah. Trying to do too many just doesn't work. You can't really appreciate them. And they also say use a video platform everyone's already comfortable with. Don't add tech stress.
Good point.
And if getting the exact same bottle is tricky, like if people are in different states or whatever, they mention services. I think Priority Wine Pass was one example that can actually ship the same set of wines to everybody.
Oh, that's smart. That takes away a big hurdle right there.
Yeah.
And sending out simple tasting cards beforehand. That seems like a small thing, but maybe helps people feel a bit more involved, gives a tiny bit of structure.
Yeah, it's like a gentle prompt, just encourages you to pay a little attention to what you're tasting, but totally low pressure. It's structure that helps the social side.
Okay, got the basics. Wines, call. But how do you stop it feeling like another Zoom call where everyone's kind of quiet?
Hmm.
The guide mentions themes aren't essential, but they sound like a really good way to make it easier, more fun.
A theme works wonders, yeah. It helps with picking the wine, for sure gives everyone direction, but it also gets people talking right away. The guide had some fun examples like budget finds under $15. Everyone can relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
Or comparing old world wines like from France or Italy versus new world, US, Australia, Chile, places like that. You could do seasonal stuff, summer whites, or match wines to snacks, even a silly dress code. There was this one story in there I loved. A friend suggested a theme of bring a wine that reminds you of vacation.
Ooh, I like that.
Right. It led to totally different wines, obviously, but also amazing stories. People talking about trips, memories. The wine just kicked off the conversation about shared experiences.
That's fantastic because then you're not just saying, this tastes like berries. You're saying, this reminds me of that tapas bar in Spain or whatever. It's personal. And speaking of taste, the guide had some really funny descriptions people came up with, like a Merlot tasting like a leather couch, but in a good way.
Haha, yeah. Or Chardonnay being like, butter that went to college. It just shows that playful vibe you get when you drop the pretense.
And the guide really wants you to avoid that awkward silence thing, pushing you towards feeling more like a game night. Which brings us to activities. Wine tasting bingo sounds hilarious.
Oh, totally.
You could have squares for, like, someone mentions tannins, but clearly has no idea what they are.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe person whose internet cuts out has to take a big sip, something fun like that. There's this quote in the source from someone named Taylor that just nails it. She says, "None of us know what we're talking about, but we've gotten really confident about being wrong together." And she described a rosé as tasting like pink starburst and summer regrets.
I love that quote.
Right, and everyone apparently nodded along. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What does it actually mean to enjoy something together when no one's pretending to be their expert? Is it that shared, like, vulnerability part of the appeal?
I think that quote captures the whole spirit. It's not about being right. It's about sharing, laughing, connecting over something simple and low stakes. The guide adds other ideas, too, like giving out silly awards, most creative description, maybe?
Yeah.
Or taking turns introducing a wine with a quick fact or story, having a few conversation prompts ready if needed, and importantly, keeping the call length reasonable, like 60, 90 minutes tops before people start zoning out.
Makes sense. Screen fatigue is real.
Yeah.
Setting a bit of a scene helps too, apparently. Even simple stuff.
Yeah. The guide suggests just, clearing the counter, maybe lighting a candle, having your glasses ready, nothing fancy. And they make a point about glassware doesn't have to be crystal. They mention IKEA glasses. Whatever you've got is fine.
That's reassuring.
Exactly. It's about making it pleasant, not perfect. Good lighting helps, though, so you can actually see people's reactions. That visual feedback is important on a call. Oh, and snacks,
Yeah.
super important.
Yes, the snacks.
The guide rightly points out snacks are key, helps cleanse the palate between wines, and, maybe more importantly, helps slow down the drinking a bit. Doesn't need to be some perfect pairing either. A simple board is great.
Their go-to suggestion sounded perfect.
Mhm.
Just some cheese, crackers, maybe some dark chocolate. Easy.
Totally doable. And one of
Yeah.
the really interesting points the source makes is that this doesn't have to be a one-time thing. People are turning these into actual regular traditions.
And that's often where the real magic happens, isn't it? That regular connection. The guide had ideas for keeping it going too, right?
Yeah, like setting up a shared Google Doc for notes or ratings. It becomes this kind of running log of your tasting adventures together. Or having a group chat just for sharing wine finds or planning the next tasting.
Oh, that's cool.
And rotating who hosts or picks the theme shares the load and keeps it fresh. Plus, it ends up being way cheaper and easier than trying to get everyone to a bar every month.
Definitely more sustainable.
And then, for groups who've done it a bit and want to shake things up, the guide talks about next-level ideas, like blind tastings.
Ooh, tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could use those mystery wine kits or just wrap the bottles in foil or paper bags. They shared this great story about doing one.
Yeah. What happened?
Well, it was apparently super humbling. Nobody could reliably tell the difference between, say, a $40 bottle and a $12 bottle once the labels were hidden.
No way. Really?
Yeah, which is fascinating, right? It totally shifts your focus from the price tag or the fancy label to just what do you actually like tasting?
Wow. That really drives home that confident about being wrong idea, doesn't it? Price doesn't equal enjoyment necessarily. What other next level ideas did they have?
Let's see. Things like combining it with the simple wine and paint night. Maybe everyone follows the same online tutorial. Or comparing the same kind of wine but from different places or different price points. Or even adding a cooking element. Everyone makes the same easy dish to pair. They also mention maybe inviting a casual guest star sometimes, like if someone knows someone who worked at a vineyard or just knows a bit more about wine, not like a formal lecture, but just to add another layer, make it interesting.
That sounds fun. Adds a little something different. Okay, so bringing this all together, for you listening in, what's the big takeaway here? Why should you maybe think about doing this?
I think the strongest message from this source is that doing virtual wine tasting this way just strips away all the fuss. It gets right back to the core reason, connecting with people you care about. The wine knowledge is totally optional. The laughter, the shared moment, that's what's essential. The guide makes it clear the best tastings aren't about the fanciest wine. They're about the stories and the jokes that happen around the wine.
Yeah, it feels like a really deliberate but also easy way to make time for friends, especially when life gets in the way, Whether they're far away or just down the street but busy. It's like actively choosing to keep those connections strong, but in a fun, relaxed setting.
Absolutely. The beauty is in the simplicity. That's what the source highlights. Pick some wine, pick a time, show up, just be ready to sip and chat and laugh. It's about starting that potential tradition, taking that first easy step.
And it makes me think back to that confident about being wrong thing and the blind tasting story. If even people who think they know wine can be totally humbled when the label's hidden, Maybe it tells us something important about sharing wine with friends. Maybe the real point isn't getting the tasting notes right at all. Maybe it's just about the shared experience, the conversation, the discovery together that's possibly more valuable. Might be worth getting your friends together online and finding out for yourselves.